Hi, this is Didier from Maison du Whisky. Just to give you a quick update, our boutiques are slowly opening up, so I should be able to get back to my lab soon. In the meantime, I want to share this discussion I had with Rob Sherman over in Kentucky last time I went there. They produce, he's from Vendome, fourth generation of Vendome, and they produce all the stills and fermentation equipment. They're quite famous producer. And we're specifically going to talk about doublers and thumpers, for those of you who have heard these terms in American whiskey production. So first of all, I'd like to thank our friends over at Michter's in Kentucky, who make great bourbon and rye. And basically when we were visiting their distillery, there were a lot of questions on this piece of equipment. So it's called a doubler. And basically it looks like a pot still, but it's running off of a continuous column still, continuously. So there are a lot of questions. It's a bit complicated, so we're going to go straight to the interview with Rob from Vendome. So Rob, thanks for having us over, first of all.
Yeah, sure.
You know, we saw the Vendome stills everywhere. So in Kentucky, clearly, you supply pretty much every distillery. What about outside of the U.S.? Do you also work with other distillers?
We do. We do a lot of work down through the Caribbean for the rum industry. A little bit down in Guatemala, Mexico, up to Canada. Okay. Anywhere there's whiskey, rum, bourbon. We've even done some tequila.
Okay.
If it's metal, we can build it, and if it's distillation, we can design it. So
yeah, you specialize in copper, but also stainless. You do both.
Probably about 60 to 70% of our equipment is stainless steel.
Okay.
Copper's probably 30 to 40%, depending on the jobs that are in here.
But the stills are mostly copper, or?
Most of the stills are copper.
The stills are copper. Okay.
Yeah, so.
What about the big guys? Because they have, the big columns, and then it feeds into what looks like a pot still, but from what I understand, it's not really quite that.
Well, you're in Kentucky, so bourbon's king in Kentucky.
Yeah.
So most of the bourbon's made in continuous columns, which are tall columns. They're all generally the same design, just bigger diameter are, the more they produce. Continuous columns will let you run more consistently, make a more consistent product with less labor and more efficiently. So the doubler, is like the second distillation. Okay. So not all, some of them run thumpers, some of them run doublers. So thumper runs off the column. So the heat that's put in the column goes into the thumper, boils, comes over, condenses, and comes out.
So on a doubler, it comes in as a vapor.
Right, comes in as a vapor, heats the thumper, comes out, condenses.
And why is it called a thumper? Because it makes a noise.
It'll make a thumping noise, yeah, because it's pushing vapor in there because there's a little bit of pressure built up. On a doubler, it has an external heat source to it. You usually have steam on the doubler, so you'll heat the still, vapor comes over, condenses, runs in the doubler as a liquid, is reheated, comes off, condenses, and then comes out as final product.
Okay, so it's kind of like it's not a batch distillation. It looks like a batch distillation, but it's actually continuous.
Right. So a thumper uses a little less equipment, a little more efficient. The doubler is a little more controllable. You can control your difference in your proof coming off your still and your proof coming off your doubler. So.
Okay. So those that use a doubler, you could say it's a double distillation because there is condensation.
Right. It is. Both of them are really double distillation.
Double distillation.
Thumper and doubler.
Okay. And the thumper kind of feels more like a turbo booster, kind of like in Jamaica where they use the retorts.
Yep. It's like a retort in the rum industry.
Okay. Whereas the doubler is actually a second redistilling of a liquid. And,
and there's a couple of distilleries out there doing both. They run sometimes they run as a thumper, sometimes they run as a doubler. I think a lot of them are the old recipes were run on thumpers, so they're not going to change it. They're going to keep making it the same way.
So the thumpers are older.
Thumpers older, yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, thanks for all that information.
Sure. It's great talking to you.
Cheers.
Yeah, awesome.
So there you have it. Thanks again to Michter's for setting this up. And if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. Follow us for more. And the question of the week for the comments is actually about distilling in the U.S. So what is the maximum alcoholic degree that American distillers can go up to for distilling a bourbon or rye? If you know the answer, you think you know, put it in the comments, and we'll see you next time.